Welcome, everybody. My name is Terry Dolan. I am with the sales organization here at Satuit. I've had the opportunity and pleasure to meet a lot of you on the call and looking forward to meeting the rest. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about our 18.0 release. And as you can see, the byline there is charting the course for tomorrow. Not only are we using that as boating enthusiasts, both Jamie and I, but also really the theme as to what we are doing with the application and what the 18.0 release is really all about. We'll go quickly through today's agenda so that we have enough time to get to the meat, which is the demonstration that Jamie will be walking us through. But we really wanted to take you through the why, how, and what behind 18.0 and give you the full story there. We will take some time to go through the demonstration and show some of those features and functionality live in some persona-based demonstrations. And then we'll quickly cover some of the roadmap, particular items, but also the overarching themes behind the roadmap moving forward. And lastly, we'll take any questions that we have from the group. This webinar will be recorded. I know that's always the first question at the end of a webinar, and we are recording it, and we will be sending that out to yourselves and your colleagues who may have not been able to join us today.
So while we're doing that, feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar using the features through the Zoom platform. We'll be more than happy to address them either during the session itself or towards the end. Thank you so much.
All right, so getting into the why, how, and what behind 18. So we've obviously heard from our customers over the years that that they were looking for kind of modernization in the application, both in the feature functionality set, but also in the aesthetics and UI, UX. And so that was really kind of the stake in the ground that we decided for 18 and moving forward and charting that course for the future was to really take a look at what it would take to modernize both the look and feel and then easily add more automation around workflow, around click reduction, and around getting data into the application quicker and easier for end users. And so really that was what we were thinking of when we sat down and started planning 18.0. And as we started going through that process, we certainly found some technical debt. For those familiar with that term, think of renovating an old house, right? At some point, you can add enough, as many rooms as you can, and daisy chain your electrical cords through different surge protectors and try to make the old plumbing systems last as long as they can. But you really do need to look at those systems and the underlying way that the application is created in order to make more modernization. So we will definitely show you what is new and exciting in the exterior, in the UI, but certainly under the hood, there's been a lot of updates that will make those enhancements and future functionality a lot easier for us to achieve. So how we did this, firstly, we partnered with a UX UI design team who took a look at the application. Really what we were trying to do was hold on to the the core elements of the application that everybody knows and is very familiar with. So we didn't want a dramatic change where suddenly you were really searching for different buttons, different searches, and different features and functionality that you'd grown accustomed to. I always tell the story that my father changed the silverware drawer when I was 17 years old, and I don't think I've ever gotten over it. Going back to my parents' house and always looking in the wrong drawer, right? So we just certainly didn't want to do that to folks. And so the UI UX team took that into account and really tried to build around the foundation that we had and make things cleaner, easily managed, and draw your eyes to the right places in the application. And lastly, again, we worked to uncover all of those areas of tech debt that we needed to work on and provide the development map to get those done. So we're going to get very much into the what of 18.0 in our demonstrations that are coming up. But just as a three quick bullet points here, we certainly refreshed the UI, right? We wanted to make it cleaner, more usable. We wanted to make the experience of working in Satuit better in that sense. We also enhanced some of the workflows and configurability. Jamie's going to go through some of those items in depth here. And obviously, the hot question that we always get is, what are your plans for AI? And we've been very careful in our exploration of AI, taking into account that your data privacy and not having any of your intellectual property, onto public cloud servers is our top priority. Jamie will highlight some of the things that we're doing with AI that is completely enclosed within the confines of our ecosystem here, where we can achieve some of those benefits that people are hoping for without actually going out to a public cloud or OpenAI or something in that regards. So really, in the AI, when we ask the question, well, what do you want AI to do? It always kind of falls on the same topics, which are get data into the system easier, improve workflows, and things of that nature. And that's always been our focus on 18.0 and the future was those types of efficiency improvements. And so we've already laid some of that groundwork again by clearing the tech deck and being able to kind of focus our efforts on those click reductions, those workflow enhancements, and those efficiency gains. Anything you'd like to add to that, Jamie, before we kind of jump into the demonstration?
No, again, I think we're really excited for what we released in 18.0, and this is again just the foundation of what we're looking to do in the next few weeks, next few months. So we're going to jump right into the application here and get into and actually get right into it. So as Terry mentioned, one of the biggest things that we did was we updated the UI look and feel to make sure that that it was something that was familiar enough, but yet still modern in that same approach. You're comfortable with what was happening in here. So I'm gonna kind of take a little bit of a three separate approaches to showing you the UI. I'm gonna take a look at it in terms of three different personas. So somebody who is working on kind of that fundraising or sales piece. We'll also take a look at what it might be from an investor relations or client servicing individual. And then finally, looking at some of the features that are more relevant to the system administrator. So starting off on that sales piece, I'm going to take a look at looking at my home page here, right? So I want to take a look to see, when I look at things, right, we have the ability to modify these home pages, make them be what you want to be. But if I go ahead and click on one of these items here and open up my my first piece here. All right, so hold on a second. Let me just refresh this. I must have let this sit too long here without working on it. So what I'm looking at here when I look at these home pages, what we're going to see here is you want to sometimes do a couple of things pretty quickly with inside of the application. We want to make sure that you can gain access to the information that you need quickly and easily. So if I go ahead here and take a look at the home page as it's refreshing, it's, you have the ability to do a couple of different things. So one of the things that we've added recently was the ability to preview your home page. So that point in time when you're taking a look at your browse lists, you can have the information that's shared up on top, but you can also have that be viewed a little bit quickly below, so you can go ahead and gain access to it that way. So that gives you the ability to kind of view in a split screen perspective what is available versus what it's not. Right, so you click on that preview, you go ahead here and click on this preview option, and it's going to open up that section on the lower portion, and will give you that capability to do that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to bring up here when we start taking a look at this is the ability to open up your detail forms in another window. So what you can do is you can actually take a look at your browse list here. And so if we go here and take a look at our browse list. Sorry about the delay here, folks. We seem to be having to refresh a little bit here. All right, so if I go ahead and take a look at my browse list, what I'm looking at doing here is having the ability to right click on any one of these lists and open it up in a new window. So if I go ahead here and right click, I can go ahead and open up in a new window. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to see that particular detail record right on that main screen. Now, you notice when you open it up on a different screen, you lose the ability to have that main business on the upper right-hand corner. So what we have is we have this form titles available to be seen. Now, this is a list, a grouping of fields that you can actually pick and choose from as the administrator to be relevant for your particular site. So you would have that capability to do this. So you can easily open up this information, take a look at what's going on. And what you may also notice while we're looking at this particular opportunity detail form is that we've added the ability to have multiple fields from either the business record or the contact record onto the screen. So here, for example, I could see here's the company profile, where their region is, what type of a firm that they are, or maybe even bring in things like the total firm assets that might be populated from, like, say, a Dakota marketplace data, or from MMD or Preqin or one of those other data providers. Right, or you can also bring in information from the contact screen. So here I can see, well, here's Mary's email address, here's her phone number, whatnot. I can either call or email somebody right from the screen. Again, simple ways to get back to doing a lot right from within this main window. Right. So again, you have the ability to either right click or look at it on look at it from a preview perspective that's in here. Right. So it's a nice way to keep track of some of those records. Now, if we go back into our home page, there's a lot of different things that we've also done to help make sure that you can keep track of what's happening quickly and easily. Right. So one of the things that we've added the ability to do is the ability to share your home pages with others. Right. So this is something that's been around for a bit, but not a lot of people know about. You can, if you click on that edit in the upper right hand corner, you can go out and save any home page as a public view, and you can make it a favorite. What this means is now when you start to take a look at your list of home pages, you can see the favorites showing up here, or you could make something be a public view where other people have access to see it at the same time. Now, a lot of people look at it saying, well, I don't necessarily know how to create the home page, or I don't have time or energy to do so. Well, if you have somebody on your team that's doing that, we actually also have the ability to manage home pages for others. So you can go ahead here and click on this manage home page, and you can select a home page for somebody else. So say I wanted to take a look at John's home page. I can modify what his home page is for him. So if he doesn't have that time, energy, or inclination to do his own home page, you can create that for them to make it a little bit easier for them to do that type of work. Now, if I go ahead back to my main page here, right, there's a couple of other things you could do to help keep track of what's going on simply and easily. One of the other things that I look at as a great piece that people may not always be aware of is the ability to do report scheduling. So what this allows you to do is this allows you to create a report that happens on a regular basis. So let's say, for example, you want to do a weekly sales opportunity report. You could take this any save view that you have created, either run it as a report or run it as just that save view, and schedule how often you want this to run. So right now, this is showing that I'm running this every Monday and Friday at 4:55 a.m. and it's automatically going to email these individuals to let them know that this report's been run. And you can change the format, you can change the name and whatnot. Again, this would be a great concept for doing it for, say, your Monday morning sales meetings. Or maybe you wanted to have a report that's showing you once a week all of the meetings that are coming up for the upcoming week, so you can do whatever preparations you may need from a sales materials perspective, or capture that. And we've seen other clients who like to use this as a recap. So on a Friday afternoon, they'll send out all the prior week's meeting notes. So at that point in time, we can see exactly what was happening from that perspective. So again, you can have as many of these reports as you want to, and you could capture this and schedule these to run automatically. It's a great feature to help keep track of those. Now, another thing that we've done is we've added the ability to do different types of triggers. Now, with triggers, we have a couple of things that we've added recently to do. So what do we have? The first one is a time-based trigger. So when you start taking a look at a time-based trigger, what a time-based trigger is going to let you do is going to allow you to automatically notify you via an email or creating an activity when an opportunity is getting stale. So let's say, for example, if you start taking a look at your sales pipeline, you wanted to say, well, how do I know when the last time I spoke to these folks are, right? We do have the field here talking about the last activity dates or different fields on that respect. Well, it'll automatically notify you that, hey, it might have been more than 30, 60, 90 days, whatever you decide, that since I've last spoken to a Watermelon Trust on this particular emerging markets opportunity. You can get that email sent out to you to let you know. Or maybe what you're doing is you're having an email that automatically gets sent out reminding you of a meeting that's anything that's happening tomorrow, any meetings that are happening 2 days ahead of time. So you can get those reminders set up for you, right? And a lot of these can be done through the system administrator, through the workflow triggers. So, right, you can create these triggers based out of those types of actions. So here, what you would say, for example, if I look at that opportunities one, you would have a time-based trigger where it's capturing, here's any sales opportunities in progress where the last activity was more than 21 days ago, right? So it allows you to keep track of those things pretty quickly and easily, right, from within there. Now, we also have additional notifications that we use internally that helps us understand when we start taking a look at things. For example, anytime a deal is won or lost. So anytime we close a new piece of business, we have an automatic email that gets set out that allows our not only our internal team but our parent organizations and whatnot to let them know that this particular opportunity has been won, what the product was for, what's the all the details about that opportunity. Or conversely, if something was lost, they can keep track of what was lost and maybe the reason why. So at that point in time, they have full visibility into our pipeline. This would also do a similar thing with the different types of ratings that are out there. So if we take a look at a particular detail form here, right, you'd be able to keep track of what's going on from a rating. So you may have an automatic email that gets notified if something goes from a watch list to a stable or to an at risk or something like that. Now, this could be done both at a client level, or maybe this could be done if you're using the Satuit using Satuit to do your consultant relations pieces. So we can capture it from that perspective. Now, another thing that is very helpful from a sales and marketing perspective is we may also have the ability to we've added the ability to create different types of actions in our workflow. So if we go back in to build out an action, we actually have the ability to add additional types of records here. So instead of actually just sending out an email, also have the ability, or create an activity, you can create a new opportunity or a new account or whatnot. So this means one of the things that we do again internally is if we get an email from our website saying that someone's filled out a request for information form, when we add that email into the system, it'll automatically generate a new lead opportunity for us to help keep track of all those types of pieces. Or maybe we can also do some more efforts on those things from an onboarding perspective to keep track of new accounts that get created and whatnot based off of the opportunity change. All right. Now, one of the things that we also found that a lot of people didn't necessarily know about, but are finding extremely useful, is if when we actually look at creating say we have a meeting with somebody, we're creating a meeting with Mary Smithsonian, for example, right? So we have a session that we're going to do. We're going to go out and see Mary. If you're going to be flying, you're traveling to some place where Mary, you may not be wanting to see Mary just all by herself. What we had the ability to do is do this search nearby feature. So I could now say, if I click on this search nearby option on the top of the screen, this is going to allow me to find all of the businesses or all of the contacts that are within a certain time or a certain range away from Mary. So I could now see, I want to see everyone who is within 10 miles of Mary, and I want to take a look at just the clients or the consultants that are within here. So or even if I say prospects as well. So if I go ahead and do this search, this is going to come back and bring me back a list of all of those firms that are within, all the people who are within a certain distance away. So here I can see where they are, in terms of miles, as far away as they are. Or I could even take this and push this out to view this on a map. So I can view a visual description of where things are. and how far away they are from from my anchor meeting. Now, if you're anything like me, you want to try to take this list and you want to do something else with this list. You don't want to go down from here. So what I could now do is I could go to my email templates functionality here, and I can create from here an email that's a meeting request for my anchor meeting. So if I go ahead here and hit generate email, what this is going to do is this is going to select all of those people that I may want to email to say I want to schedule a meeting while I'm in town here. So I can go ahead and check off any of the people that I wanted to do. Right, I'm going to go ahead here and hit next, and I can see what that message might look like. Right, I can go ahead and make some quick modifications to this message. So, for example, if I'm taking a look at this particular one, instead of saying no, I'm going to be there in a short period of time, I can actually pick, well, which week I may be showing up to that meeting here. So I can enter in, I can update this information right from within here, and be able to view that screen and capture that what I want to care about in that particular email right from within that section. Now, if I go ahead here and hit next, I could now go ahead and preview, well, what does this message look like? So I can go ahead in here and view each of these individual messages along the way. And once I'm ready to go ahead and hit send, I can hit send here, and it's automatically going to send out these 51 emails personalized to each of those people, right? So it's a great way to keep track of those anchor meetings and how you can actually build out those pieces. Or alternatively, if you're more of the person who likes to call, you could use the activity plan manager feature to create an activity underneath each one of these businesses for that purpose. So I can now say, what do I want to do? I want to do a follow-up in the a reminder for myself to schedule meeting when in town, right? And I can go ahead and say I want to remind myself to do this on Friday, right? And once I go ahead here and hit save, it's automatically going to generate all of those activities for me to remind myself to make those changes happen. Now, while we're talking about emails, we've also added the ability recently to have an automatic synchronization from your Outlook to Satuit. So instead of having to use the Outlook add-in, where you have to select which emails you want to add, we can actually connect into your Office 365 account directly and bring in all of the emails and all of the appointments into Satuit automatically, where the email address matches a contact inside of Satuit. So it'll go back in and automatically pull all that information in to make it that much easier for you to get those emails added into the system. Now you can do that in conjunction with the existing add-in, so you don't have to choose either or, but it does make sure that you capture that information pretty quickly, pretty easily on that front. All right. So if I switch over to more of a consultant investor relations perspective, I want to talk to you about a few different things that we've added inside of this to help make sure that you make your life a little bit easier. So if I go ahead here and take a look, for example, at the business STI technologies, what you may notice here is we actually have the ability to have multiple detail forms. So for example, you can have one detail form that is viewed from an institutional perspective. So here I can see, well, what's going on from a plan asset perspective. I can see bringing information in from say a Dakota money market directory, an eVestment, one of those types of firms. We can have that information be brought in and be able to display that information from here. Or if we want to take a look at it from, say, someone you're doing a funds distribution perspective, I can open up a view that's talking about, well, what's happening from my funds perspective, and I can now see different information based off of that. So here I can now see, well, what was the funds distribution look like? What type of business have they brought into us? What's the balance? What groups are using things? And again, it keeps it really simple and easy for us to keep track of that. So you may notice we have also added the ability to have charts and graphs right from within in these sections. Now, the ability to have these multiple detail forms is helpful not only at the business level, but maybe you wanted to add it, have it at the activity level as well. So for example, here, if I wanted to add a new activity underneath Morgan Stanley, I get a chance to choose, is it an appointment, an email, a follow-up, or whatnot. So say if I choose appointment and hit add, it's going to show me a different set of forms where I can see, for example, I have to select the location. So I'm going to have a meeting at their office next week, right? At at 3 p.m. And I'm going to, this is for a review meeting. And this is for the operation side, right? And I can pick a product, fill all this information out. So that makes it really simple to do. Now, if I compare that to if I'm adding in a new phone call, right? You're going to notice that when I add in this for a phone call, I'm going to see a different level of screens, right? I'm not going to see all of that information about the location from this window. I'll have different information that would be available to me on there. Now, when I look at having these types of pieces added, this might be useful not only at a activity level or a business level. Maybe what you would see is you'd want to capture this at an opportunity level. You may want to see a different number of fields, a different type of fields layout. If this is for a new business piece of opportunity, or maybe for a consultant relations, you'd want to have a different set of fields available, or different fields that become required. Or maybe you have that be separate as an upsell opportunity. You would capture things differently on that side. Or if you're looking at it from an account perspective, you're looking at the accounts tab, maybe you would have a different set of screens set up if it's a separately managed account versus if it's part of a fund, right? Or maybe it's by the type of client that you have. You may have a different view if it's a wealth management client, a private client, as compared to, say, if it's an institutional firm. You may have different types of fields be available, where you may want to have some more KYC fields being required if it's on the private client side of things. Now, while we're looking at this particular form, you may notice here that the activity subtype here is a required field based off of the arrows that are showing, the red line that's showing up here. So this gives you the ability to keep track of, well, what type of business that it's in. Now, this would allow you can set up different types of fields, dependencies that are in here to keep track of that. So one of the things that I find useful when we look at this is more from a sales perspective. If I go ahead and select add a new opportunity here, right? I could go ahead and say, when I create an opportunity, there may be different levels of information that would be required at different times. So for example, if I select, I'm going to say this is a new fund here. I'm going to say this is in the early stages. You notice not many things may be filled out, but if I go in to, say, the close-in contract perspective, you now would see that the target assets become required, or the probability becomes required. So allowing you to have different levels of dependencies, you can fill that information, make it easier to keep track of what's going on at that particular time. So you can make people fill in information when they know it, but not beforehand. It's quite helpful on that stage. So I'm now going to go back into my primary business, STI Technologies here. And it's going to ask me, I'm just going to hit cancel to get rid of that. I don't want to add that particular record. So if I start searching for STI, I get a chance to review all the different firms that are out here. I'm going to open up this one, and I'm going to go over to the accounts tab. Now, when I look at the accounts tab for STI, I'm going to open up one of the records here, and I'm going to see that when I look at this record, there's now charting available at the top here, which automatically get filled in with information that may be brought in from your portfolio accounting system or your custodian, some different things like that. So here you could start to see, well, what is the assets by security type, right? Or I want to take a look at my breakouts of the different types of stocks, or I want to be able to view, well, what was my month-end reporting look like as compared to my year-end, right? I can keep track of all those different times. Now, all of this information gets filled in by these grids that are showing up on the bottom of the screen here. So you can have any of these grids can be reported on and charted on. So it becomes a nice way to keep track of bringing that information in. Now, I'll talk to you in a few minutes about how we actually can do that with our data exchange utility to get to pre-populate all that history and get that information in there, so you can create these charts, these graphs, and be able to see that level of interaction. And I talked before a little bit about some of these triggers that were available from a sales perspective. right? But you also have the ability to create triggers from a client relations perspective, that may be something a little bit more specific to what you need to do, right? It could be a scenario of maybe you want to identify some clients that you haven't spoken to in more than 3 months, 6 months, or whatnot. Or maybe you wanted to view activities that are, you haven't had an activity in a while. So if you looked at it, whether it be based off of a workflow trigger where you're going to get an automatic notification of those, right? Or maybe what you wanted to have the ability to do is if I do a create a save view here that's related to activities in the previous 60 days here, you can actually see when I look at this, you would have the ability to have these different triggers that are available, these different options in here. We've added a number of new ones here. For example, for the previous number of days, more than a certain number of days ago, or between these certain time frames, right? So you have the ability to create additional options from within those custom searches, right? So if we look at it from a opportunities perspective, if I look at, for example, the stale opportunities, I can say, show me all of the opportunities that are in progress and the last activity was more than 90 days ago, right? It's a great way to keep track of all of those options on that front.
Hey, Jamie,
Right.
can you talk a little bit real quick? I'm sorry to take you off topic here, but how this could be used for kind of interdisciplinary tasks, right? Like workflows between departments, say for like onboarding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what you might have in that particular scenario is you could actually have that be something that's on your home page here. So you could see, for example, this client negligence tracking, I could have that be available here. Or if I wanted to take a look at it from my, if you're using it from a portal perspective, right here, you might be able to say you want to take a look at all of the unpublished documents that are awaiting review. So at that point in time, I could do those types of searches where if I'm on the operations side, I need to review these tasks. I can go ahead here and open up this statement and say, "Yep, I'm looking at this. This is currently assigned to finance." And I can now say, is this ready to go? Right? Where is this? It's with a different group. Or I can now say, that is the compliance review done? Yes, it is, and it was done today. So once I do this, it's no longer going to be on that list of firms that need my review. This is something that is can be ready to get published in there. So that gives you that level of separation that keeps track of it. So it's in this particular case, this was related to a portal side of things, but this could also be done if you're doing cases, doing it in a lot of different ways for any sort of approval on whether it be marketing or whatnot. Right. So if I take a look at, for example, from a client data perspective, you might have here is my client negligence. I can see when was the last time I spoke with these folks. That I can see, the last meeting that I had with this particular group was in December of 2024. Maybe I need to go out and reach out to them. Now, while we're looking at this particular piece here, one of the things that kind of a neat hidden feature that not everyone has realized is that we actually also created the ability to allow you to change which side of the window the tools menu becomes. So say if you're somebody who likes to have all their key information on the upper left hand side, right, you could make your tools menu be docked on the right hand side as compared to the left hand side. Right, so that's a kind of just a neat little way to help customize your screen, and it will remember what your pieces were from there. All right. So I wanted to take a little bit of time here to switch over from the investor relations view to take a look a little bit more about from a system administration perspective about the types of things that an administrator might find useful within inside of the new tool. Now, if we start taking a look at something like our data exchange utilities, right? We talked a little bit before about filling in those charts on the accounts page. Well, we can actually automate the import of these records right into the application using, say, a nightly account import option. So this would be part of our API menu options here, that you could go ahead and find a file on your local drive, import it into the system using an import template that you have, and then you can select, well, when do you want this to run? So I want to run this every weekday at 11 p.m. and I'm going to notify myself of any of any issues that might have occurred, right? So any exception reports, make sure things are going, and I can change it to say that this file has been processed. Now you can do this in for imports of all different times. It could be brought in from any sort of a third-party tool and capture this, or you can even bring in, for example, your monthly statements for your portal publishing. You could have a view that will automatically look at a particular folder and bring in all of those documents automatically for you, so you don't have to run your bulk upload yourselves. You can have this run every day, every once a week, whatever it might be, to keep track of it. And you could even do this if you wanted to have this be updated, bring it in every half hour, right? You can have it be very automated to help bring this information in. So it does a nice way to keep track of bringing in that level of information for you. Now, the other option you would have with inside of the SDX utilities, you also have the ability to export the data from Satuit out to another system. So maybe you wanted to take some of the information that's inside of the application and push it out to your portfolio accounting system, your client reporting tool, or maybe even your data warehouse. We have a number of clients that are actually building some pretty impressive dashboards using Power BI and Tableau um, uh, through their data warehouse, and they're taking some of the data from Satuit, some of their data from their marketing tools, from their portfolio accounting system, from their custodian, whatever it might be, and they're putting this all together into a dashboard within inside of, say, Power BI. And the Satuit data is feeding that information on a regular basis, right? It's a nice way to keep track of that. To do. I've seen people that are doing this, whether it be a SQL database, a Snowflake database, whether they're using Tableau or they're using Power BI or they're using some other engine to help keep track of all of that information. We actually use ourselves these exports where we export our contact information as well as our client level information out to one of our local shared drives as our own disaster recovery perspective. So once a week, we do an export out of all of our contact phone numbers and email addresses and what our clients have subscribed to. So in case we ever need to get involved with that or we don't have access to the application, we always have that right from within there. So it's a nice way to keep track of that piece. I mentioned before about some of the workflows that we have generated here, right? And you can have different types of different types of ones for say an onboarding workflow here, where you can say once an opportunity has been marked one, it'll bring that information over to automatically create a lot of different options for automatically create a document record, for example, to fill out a certain form, or maybe it automatically fills out the information from the opportunity on an account tab. So it automatically fill in the date that it was won, the contract date, which product is going on with, all of those types of things. Maybe there's 5, 6, 7 steps that are involved to keep track of what you need to do to follow through with that onboarding. So a great way to use some of these workflow items within here. Now, one of the other options that we had we've done is we've added the ability to do some single sign-on capabilities with inside of the application. So at that point in time, it could either use your Windows authentication or using a tool like Okta or something like that, where we can have it set up where you can have your single sign-on get set up here. So if we look at our login rules, for example, here, you could have the multi-stage authentication, or you can have this single sign-on capability here to keep track of what's going on that stage. So this not only the single sign-on allows it, so the users themselves get a benefit because they don't have to remember a separate username and password that goes on. So it'll automatically log in to the Satuit application based off of your Windows authentication, your Windows login. But the other benefit is from a security perspective. It allows you to have, if somebody is leaving the firm, right? Once the IT team disables their access to their main app, to their Windows, for example, it'll automatically turn off access to Satuit. It's not uncommon to hear from our clients that any of the SaaS applications like Satuit aren't included in their IT's offboarding process for employees. So they may turn off access to somebody's email, but they forgot to turn off access to their CRM for a while. So that means that once somebody's left, they could actually still access some of that information, which isn't the greatest from a security perspective. And one of the other things that I've heard from people recently that I thought was quite useful that we do ourselves is we've seen people start building out things like these data cleanup homepages, worrying about data hygiene, right? And what you're doing is doing different pieces within either be a custom search or an advanced search to see, for example, show me all of our non-clients that are getting a client-related mailing. So I could go ahead here and say, oop, I don't want John here to be able to have access to that mailing. I could go ahead in here and remove the access to this particular client distribution list, right? So if I go in here and remove the value from within this, he'll automatically then drop off that list so I can keep track of all of these mailings that he's not supposed to get, right? So I could keep track of that from within here, right? Or I could say, for example, you're saying here are all of our key contacts that have an open opportunity with us that aren't on our marketing distribution list for newsletters, right? We want to be able to add those folks in. So not only to help protect from who you shouldn't be mailing, but maybe you're saying who should be getting these emails out to. Or maybe you have some common reporting pieces that you want to take a look at. For example, here are 2 opportunities that are marked as closed, but are still showing up as in progress. So if I go ahead in here and take a look at this, I could either remove the closed inactive portion here, or I could now say, well, what really happened, right? This was a lost opportunity, right? To keep track of those types of things so you don't run into scenarios with issues with your reporting. And this is one that I find really helpful, is doing things like keeping track of all of your active clients that don't have an active agreement turned on your system here. So you can keep track of this, so you can make sure that all of the data that's in your system are properly captured. All right. So that's kind of some of the highlights of what we were looking at, both from what we've released as part of 18.0 and some of these kind of forgotten about features that may not have been overly known that I found particularly useful. So if we kind of take a step back for a moment and take a look at well, this is what we've done, and Terry brought up earlier that there's a lot of work that we're trying to do a lot of work we did as part of 18.0 to make ourselves ready for the future. What we're looking at doing is we've actually already well into our way of developing version 18.1, which will be ready kind of later this year in 2025, where we're actually doing some great work using AI to simplify the adding and updating of contacts in the system. So what it'll do is it'll look at the emails you've added into Satuit, and it'll find people that haven't been added to Satuit, and it'll automatically add them to the right business based off of their domain name. And it's going to parse their signature out from Satuit to be able to say what is what was their email address, their title, their phone numbers, and automatically populate that information in Satuit based off of those records that are inside that emails that have been added to the system, right? And we've also done some work and continue to do some work to help improve click reductions, right? The ability to open up the configuration form directly from a detail window, as compared to having to go to the tools, system admin, form config, blah, 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 going down that whole stage. So it saves you 5, 6, 7 clicks. Coming up in the next release, 18.2, which will be kind of in the early Q1 release area, we are going to be redoing our Outlook add-in to have it work with the new Outlook. So that is something that'll be coming in early 2026. And also having the ability to add in some additional date tokens onto on our advanced searches. So instead of having to go to the custom searches for that purpose, you could do that within your advanced search. Now, if we kind of look even future forward, in 2026, we're going to be focusing in on our workflow expansion, as well as doing more work to allow for some self-service reporting. And also looking at doing some work to help with our investor onboarding processes, and doing more with portal forms. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to in 2026. In 2027, taking advantage of more AI work for next best actions, some natural language searching, and hopefully some data governance pieces to help identify and collect and clean up some, whether it be duplicate contacts, missing information, things like that. And then in 2028, looking to improve our multilingual support options, as well as continuing on with our click reductions. So a lot of good things going forward that we're looking forward to. And the 18.0 is laying the groundwork for a lot of this work for that advancement as we go forward.